Call to order the planning board meeting for April 4th, 2023. My name is Carrie Martinek, Chair of the Planning Board. Before we get started, I just have a few announcements to read. This open meeting of the Planning Board is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29th, 2023. All members of the planning board are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The act allows the planning board to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. Confirming that all persons anticipated on the agenda are remotely present. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Amy Pretsky?
Here.
Bill Pierce?
Here.
Millie Milton?
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Lori Connors?
Yes, here.
And Fred Litchfield?
Here.
Ground rules for the meeting. For presenters and applicants listed on the agenda, the chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly in a way that generates accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the board or committee will be conducted by roll call vote. There are no public comments tonight, and otherwise I would just note that no in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. Okay, with that, why don't we start with our first item on the agenda. The first item on the agenda tonight is the continued public hearing for 455 Whitney Street, site plan approval and special permit per groundwater protection overlay district bylaw for the proposed addition of 4,500 square feet of warehouse space and associated improvements. There's been a request to continue this public hearing without testimony till April 18th, 2023. And would that be at 6 o'clock, Lori?
We have an agenda item at 6 o'clock already, so I would recommend 6:10.
Great. Okay, is there a motion then to continue the hearing for 455 Whitney Street site plan approval and special permit to April 18th at 6:10 p.m.?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, Amy?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Millie?
Aye.
And carries an aye. The hearing has been continued. Next on our agenda, we have the presentation of zoning related articles for town meetings. So I'm going to share my screen here. There we go. Can everybody see my screen? It should say, whoops.
Yep.
The proposed planning related amendments, articles 37 through 50. Okay, great. Mm-hmm. And Lori, thank you so much for putting this together. This is, I think I emailed you, the nicest that I've ever seen the presentation with beautiful pictures and everything. In terms of this evening for what we need to cover, from your perspective, Lori, is that really just figuring out who's covering what, or do we need to walk through this in any great detail, or what do you think our requirements are here?
You know, it's up to you. I was interested in hearing if you wanted any amendments to the various slides. And also, we do have to provide a report as to who is going to be speaking on the various articles. So those are my two objectives for tonight.
Okay, and I want to clarify something. So in the past, we've been told that the planner cannot present articles, but it sounds like you're understanding if we wanted you to present something, or you wanted to for that matter, that is okay for the planner to present something at town meeting?
So my experience is that I have not typically presented the articles, but I have been heavily responsible for answering any questions on the articles.
And is that by requirement or just your experience and preference?
Just my experience.
Okay, all right. So maybe that was.
So I know in some communities, they don't allow folks who are not registered voters to speak.
Right.
So you have to sit in a certain location in the auditorium and you have to request permission to speak. So that's been my experience in the past. So that's why I haven't presented on articles in the past. But I mean, if it's allowed and you folks want me to present the articles, I'd be happy to do so.
All right, I'm still not clear on if it's allowed. For some reason, it's never been in the past, but that's okay. I just wasn't sure if you knew something different.
My first couple years, I think Kathy did present them on the board. I know my first election cycle, I didn't present any.
Okay, well, we can think of it. Maybe it's not even Lori's preference to do it. I know which one I'd give Lori.
I bet you I can guess as well.
Okay, so here we go. So this is Articles 37 through 39. Changing definitions. So Laura, you're looking for if there are any changes here?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that I just make it simple. There isn't much to say on these definitions. So, you know, I just wanted to point out that we're just trying to bring them into compliance with the Mass Building Code.
Okay, so this is our logic, obviously, not the actual definition. So, board members, so in the past, I think we've shown the actual bylaw change. Have we shown the actual bylaw change in the presentation or no?
Yeah, I think that we've done the, put the strike through and then the word change.
So everybody will obviously have a copy of that in their lap. So is it best then to just stick to the logic, you think, if people can just look at the warrant in their hands?
But these make sense, but if, say, whoever's presenting them
We'll
wants
just have to have a copy.
Yeah. Either way, who wants to present these though? I guess they would be the ones to decide. Or they all don't have the zoning. I didn't look at them really closely.
So what we've done in the past for presentations, or tried to anyway, is like cluster them together. So that way we're not like popping up one, then one has to go up. But like we at least try, it seems to me, to group it by at least 2 or 3, unless somebody proposed something they feel strongly about and want to be the one to present it. So
I guess we don't show the bylaw on any of them, which is fine as long as we have them in our hand. Well,
Yeah,
I think we have to read it, right? We read it.
yeah, we have to read the motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be hard to include the entire bylaw in several of them. I mean, some of them are really short, but some of them are long. So I
Yeah.
don't know how you would include that on the screen unless you wanted to do multiple slides. But I figured because everybody has that in their hands, it's less important to show the proposed change than it is to show the rationale for the change.
Okay, so that's fine. I just think then if everyone has a copy of the bylaws up with them, and then will you actually type out the motions that we then have to read? So we have to go up, make the motion, get a second, and after it's seconded, we open up for discussion, correct?
I'd be happy to type up the motion.
Okay, so
I think that might actually be in the book, but I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, I can, regardless.
It
you all
is.
have that.
It is. The motions, I'm sorry, Carrie, it's Fred. The motions generally go after the article is read and the motion is then entered into the minutes. Who's ever presenting it presents that motion to the moderator and the town clerk, so it goes into the file. There's
okay.
that piece of paper that gets handed up to the moderator.
Yeah, so that's why we need it typed out, Lori, because we have to
Yep.
pass it in.
Okay. Yeah.
And we have to
I would
sign
be
it,
happy to
too.
do that.
Don't we have to sign them?
Yes.
I think that's only if there's a change. If the motion
really?
that's as part of the warrant is there, it's all set. But then if there's a change on the floor, if the board is doing something, the board also needs to hand in their vote to recommend approval. I think that needs to be on record that the board is in favor of it. Usually
Yes.
he'll ask the various boards that have to weigh in on it.
Okay, and I believe based on what we're presenting, that we were unanimous support across these. Is that true? Was there any that we had a split vote? I know the White House, though, White Cliffs, we were gonna be a split, or we were a split, but that, if that's not forward now, were we unanimous on the rest of these?
From my recollection, all the others were unanimous.
Okay. Okay, so if we were to, does anybody, first of all, let's find out, does anybody feel strongly about presenting a certain bylaw, like one either you advocated for, or just you really feel like you want to present it, or whatever the case? Okay. And now, Bill, this is your very first town meeting presenting bylaws, correct?
Right.
Okay. Would you like the treat of picking a
I
section?
heard that laugh, Amy.
Welcome to the club.
Is there a section that you would, first of all, is there anybody who does not want to present? And let's not forget to put Anthony on the hook here too, so,
Oh, yeah, he's not getting off just because he's not here.
okay,
I just would rather not go first so I can see sort of what everyone else does.
okay.
There's 14, right? So we divide it by 5. 4 people would have 3, and then the last 2 are the harder ones. That person can have 2.
Maybe it'd be easier if you group them by section. So like each of you do 3 or 4. So that you don't have to keep going to the podium and then sitting down and then going up and then sitting down.
Yes, so that's a great idea. So how about 37, 38, 39? So this is a batch of 3 right here. So does anyone want to do 37, 38, 39? These are easy ones too, are they easy ones? Let's see.
Yeah, those seem like easy ones because they're just getting it up to building code.
So does anyone want either the first batch, or we give it to Anthony, or?
I'll take it. I don't
Okay.
know if anybody had voiced their preference, but I know Bill doesn't want to go first, so
Okay,
taking
So-
one for the team here.
I think you usually do kick us off.
I owe
Millie,
you
then.
one.
I think I usually do, so.
This is Millie's traditional kickoff to the
Yeah.
zoning bylaws.
I think I had to kick off last year with
You
signs
did, you definitely did.
Oh, okay.
at
I
10
think you were
o'clock
on
at night.
double duty last year because Anthony wasn't there.
That's right. He was supposed to kick it off.
That's right. Okay.
Oh.
All right. So next we have, so no edits to this site. I'm sorry, this page, this looks good to everybody.
Yep.
This is good. And is this the logic that we used on the public hearing, Laurie?
It is.
Okay, great. So we are familiar with it in general. That's great. Okay, so 40, let's go 40, 41, 42, see what we've got here. So this is, fixing up that site plan issue. Oh, is this the rules and regs? Yep, so the site plan, special permit, cleaning, untangling that, the rules and regs, ZBA for ZBA, and what is this?
This is the accessory dwelling
Accessory
size. So instead of going 25% of the single family structure, it'd be a maximum of 800 square feet.
Okay. Bill, do you like this section, or do you still, or I guess Amy, you could as well?
Yeah, either one. I'll do any section.
Bill, we'll give you the courtesy of picking since it's your first time. Would you like to hold out for a different section?
Like if I go with curtain B, I'm gonna be in trouble, but no, I'll hold
Or-
on.
All right, let's look ahead. We'll see. All right, so classification of uses. This one might be a little tricky, to tell you the truth.
Right.
To get people to, this one is going to be confusing, maybe to some extent, of why you, the accessory dwelling on an existing is, this one was sticky at the hearing. And by the way, even if you're the one presenting, you don't have to be the only one answering questions, so don't feel stuck. This one might be a little,
I could do those, but maybe Lori can be ready because she did a good description with the,
I'll be absolutely ready to jump up if there are any follow-up questions. And I know Fred and I were talking earlier today about the complicated groundwater protection
that this one?
bylaw. And maybe Fred wants to deal with that because he's been interpreting that way historically. But the rest of the questions I'm happy to answer.
okay, and so maybe too, Anthony presents the groundwater one as the groundwater rep.
Uh-huh.
Not the big groundwater one, but the one that where we're fixing some of the language. Bill, does that, in light of what's in store after this one, do you want to do 40, 41, and 42?
Sure.
Okay,
Or if he wanted to do 46, 47, 48, that would be his sign definition, the underground wiring.
Oh,
all
yeah,
right, hold on. Let's go ahead again. So,
Because those don't seem as hard, the 46, 47, 48.
okay, Bill, would you prefer that?
yeah, that works.
Because he brought up the sign, it's just definition, and then
Yeah.
46 is underground wiring, which other towns do. Because I do think 40, 41, and 42 are a little tricky.
Okay,
Not that he
Lori,
couldn't do it.
thanks for taking these pictures that are really helpful for people to see. It's sometimes I think people get an idea in their head and it's difficult to back away from that once they have it solidified. So that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So going back then for 40, 41, and 42, Amy, do you want to do 43, 44, and 45?
Sure, I can do either ones, whichever one you think. I'll do 43, 44, 45. We're going to give Anthony 40, 41, 42. You know, I'm pegging you for 49 and 50.
I know.
Your grace under fire.
Well, 50 is easy. So it's
50 is
only 49 that you're gonna have a tough time with.
Um,
And maybe
so
not, because Attorney Dineski kind of, clarified some things.
So 40, 41, 42, it doesn't matter to me. Do you have a preference, Amy, of what you'd rather do?
No, and I can do either set. We could email Anthony, ask him if he wants 40, 41, and 42, or 43, 44, and 45, and I'll take whichever ones he doesn't want. I don't care. Whichever one you think I can handle.
Okay, I'm thinking that Anthony would probably want 40, 41, and 42 out of the two because this one would be 43 looks a little tricky.
I feel like the 43, 44, and 45 are the ones that Lori and Fred are mostly going to talk to. So that's why I thought those looked easier than 40, 41, and 42. But I don't care.
Lori, when do you have to give a report of who's covering what? Is that like?
Well, I was hoping to give it this week.
I mean, the only problem is we're gonna get down to the 18th and we're gonna have hearings that night and then we're gonna have to sort it out in public. I don't think we can sort this out. Can Amy and Anthony talk outside of the public hearing and decide if they want to switch this, or does it have to be at the public hearing?
You know, it's probably best for me to just be the conduit. So
Okay.
what I can suggest to him is he's been assigned 40, 41, and 42. But if he has a problem with it, then Amy is willing to switch with him.
Okay,
So maybe
Great.
we do it that way. So then at least I can be sure about the other speakers.
okay, perfect.
That sounds good. And I'll
So,
take 43, 44, 45. Because
okay,
last year I ended up with more because in the end he got sick anyways.
Correct.
so based on, regardless of speaker, to answer Lori's question, are there any amendments to this presentation? It looks like the same logic we used at the hearing.
Yeah, I didn't really read thoroughly. And maybe after I'll read the ones I'm doing, 43, 44, 45, and if there's a little tweak, I hate to spend time. I should have read it closer.
So now that I'm looking at it on the screen, I like the black slides better than the gray slides. So I'm thinking I'm gonna switch the backgrounds to all the slides to black background instead of the gray.
Mm,
I think it's just shows up much crisper.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll look nice.
Yeah,
I feel like by putting this table in, and I'm okay with putting it in, but I wonder if it invites questions about the entire table. So we'll just have to be careful of like not going down a rabbit hole with everything else. I'm not sure. Like I wouldn't want all of a sudden to get all sorts of amendments to start changing other stuff on the floor.
Okay, so you think I should just include the narrative instead of the table?
I'm not sure. What do you guys think? I mean, I guess the same, it's going to be in their book anyway. So theoretically, they could do the same thing if it's on the book.
I
But
think
we
just
wouldn't
put-
be able to change anything else without having a public hearing about it. So that makes it a simple answer, should that question be asked.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, well, that's fine then. Bill, you had something there?
No, I was just gonna say, it's a bit of an eye chart now, right, with the table in there. So, like you said, they'll have the table in the book.
that
So
makes
you
sense.
you
And
think
then the
take it,
wording.
leave it or
Yeah,
take
I
it
think
out?
taking it out and just leaving the wording. And we
Did you
can,
spend a lot
we
of
can
time
always
on this,
mention,
Lori?
we can always
I'm fine
reference
with
it.
doing that. I'm totally open to whatever your feedback is.
Okay, it looks like you tried to nicely design it, so I hate to,
I always try to make things look pretty, but that's
It was
okay.
just a cut and paste job. Don't give her too much credit.
I'm not married to it, so.
all right, is the board okay with that? Take it out or anyone think leave it?
I don't know. I
Better
think it's
either way.
fine in myself, but it's easier reference, if you ask me.
I'm okay either way, so you guys,
I'm okay either way too.
Bill, you're the deciding factor then.
Yeah, we can leave it in, that's fine.
Okay.
Maybe just
Don't
highlight what
Lori's hard
the
work.
change is to the chart.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Okay,
If you just
Put the numbers
annotate.
in red or something just to highlight the one section that's changed.
yep.
I
I
can
think
do
that's
that.
helpful.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay. Um. Okay.
And I
46.
was going through that one last night, actually, and it's not, even if people get up in arms about it, it's not that big of a change because RC is 30%. So on a 20,000 square foot lot, that would mean you could have a 6,000 square foot print, but you can still go up. So that would be 12,000 square feet, right? It's only the square feet on the ground.
yeah, it's 20,000, yeah, exactly. So you could do a 2-story building and have a 12,000 square foot structure. You're correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an RC, so it isn't really a major change if people might think it is.
Well, that's good because you'll be covering this one, so you can make that.
Right.
Okay. 45. So Fred, you'll be on call for this one when there are questions, if there are questions.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the things
Right.
Fred and I were talking about, actually, maybe this is what you were about to say and I interrupted you.
It's okay.
We were kind of debating amongst ourselves whether we should keep it simple, stupid, or whether we should go into more detail and maybe have a diagram showing what this
Hmm.
entails. I was concerned about doing the diagram because I thought it would confuse people more than just the language here. But I'm open to your feedback, whether you think a diagram is necessary or not.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
What I used to do in the past is I would have the diagram say at the bottom of these slides and go to it in case of emergency. So like you keep it simple, but then if you get a lot of questions and you need to explain it further, you have your diagram that might help explain it. But if it goes through and nobody questions it, then it's so amazing at town meetings. Sometimes like the harder ones is like silence and it goes through, and the easier ones like unravel. But you never know which one's gonna unravel.
The tough thing about that is they're gonna blend all of our presentations together into a
Oh.
gigantic presentation. So then it won't be like I can skip ahead to this slide.
Actually,
Or,
I
you know,
don't
we
think
can
that'll
skip
be a
over it.
problem. I don't think that'll be a problem, Lori. The way it's worked in the past is that you give all your slides and your presentation that you want on the screen to David before
Yeah.
town meeting, and then he loads it. And
Right.
then when you get to the podium, there's an icon for each article, and you just click on that article, and then you scroll through the slides as you want to move. If we don't need to use the diagram, we don't have to. And then when the person goes to the next one, they just skip on to the next article and you can go right past it. I think we
Oh.
might be able to work that out.
Okay,
But I'm thinking that the slide for the diagram is going to be very simple. It's going to be a box with a line in the middle, and it's going to say groundwater 1 on the back and on the top, and on groundwater 2 on the bottom, with an X through it. And then another one with the groundwater 2 in the back and groundwater 1 in the front, with a big green check mark saying you can do this, but you can't do that, in terms of combining the land area for those lots that don't have all the area within the district that the frontage is in.
That seems helpful. Do you guys think that's helpful or more confusing?
I do, because it's my article and I'll just call Fred up. And I'd
Sure,
rather have
yeah.
more than less, because I've always had more and then just skip the slides I didn't need. Because it would be hard to describe on the fly when you're standing at the podium if you don't have the diagram.
Well, just remember, someone's gonna read the actual motion, and the article is gonna be in the warrant, and so people will have that. And then what we're doing is just kind of explaining the background, and this one, the background is, we're just trying to make sure the language in the bylaw is clear to the average person, the way the staff has been interpreting it for years.
Maybe we should put that as a bullet.
Yeah, I did.
Right
New
here.
clarifying language is consistent with long-standing interpretation of the zoning bylaw.
By staff, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
Or I can just leave it that way.
I think it's good the way it is, because
Okay.
Bob is the one who's charged with interpreting the bylaw, and he and I collaborate on stuff that has to do with groundwater. So it's his job to interpret. So it really, I think it's clear that it's staff that's interpreting the bylaw.
Okay.
All right, 46. Oh, now we're in Bill's territory, so let's see. Anything on these? 47. 48. Anything changed for these slides? These are Bill's.
Pretty simple.
Yep. That's a great picture too.
I stole it from the internet.
Did you?
I thought it was very applicable. I'm like, oh, isn't that pretty? And it shows like the 5 foot on either side. So you
Yeah.
have like a nice 10-foot buffer.
Really pretty. Okay.
And that was the point of this bylaw, just so Bill knows, he probably knows, is because in design review, we were getting houses that were abutting each other with no buffer, and there was no place to put snow or any sort of buffer, so the houses would be like right up against each other, or the driveways. But that does look really nice. And I do like the black. It does show better.
Okay. 48. Okay, so are these the last two? 49 and 50?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll do 49 and 50. Okay, that's fine.
I just checked my warrant from last year and the motions are printed right under the article, so that should
Oh,
be all
great.
set.
Okay, great. So it's just a matter of having to pass it in, I guess.
Yep. Well, you passing in the vote. Well, the vote needs to be turned into to the town clerk. So there, the vote from the public hearing about the zoning articles. And then the only time you fill something out and sign it if there's a change on the floor,
Okay,
I believe.
wait,
We
okay,
always had to sign them in the past.
I
And
think
if
we
we sign it,
always we have to always hand it in.
yeah,
You think only if we made a change, Fred? I think
I
I wrote
think
the instructions down last year or the year before.
we always handed them to the selectmen behind us. And we signed them. I don't know why, but that
Okay.
was what we were told to do.
Okay.
So can I just put them all on a single document?
No,
And
it
then
goes
you
one by,
just hand them in all together, or do I have to group them in threes?
no, we do it like each is on an individual piece of paper.
Oh, okay, that's weird.
So Kathy would put 3 on one piece though, and then cut it. So it didn't have to be like the full sheet. If you want to put the 3 on one
Okay.
sheet, and then they're just like a small third of the paper.
I think
Okay.
it makes it easier for the town clerk when he's sending the package to the Attorney General's office after the town meeting. He sends a package for each article so that the stuff for one article is all together. That way he doesn't have to put one with 5 motions on it with something else. So he doesn't have to make 5 copies. I'm guessing.
Okay. I wrote down the instructions a couple years ago that we just keep recycling, so I'll find those and send them to everybody so you can see what we've done in the past. The only thing I'd say about this one is it's kind of hard to read. There's a lot there. It's almost easier when it's this big in bullets versus stuck in these boxes.
Okay, I can change it to the more traditional layout. I just liked how the picture
know.
appeared.
And well, I like the picture and I like that you did something fancy, but this little part is what I worry people won't be able to read. Well, I guess when it's up.
Okay, yeah, I'll change that back. No problem.
Oh, I gotta practice this word. I kept messing it up at the hearing. There are just some words I can't say. I'm gonna practice. Remember I got the horticultural, still can't say it, the horticultural bylaw. Yeah, I had to practice saying that forever.
I'm sure you'll do great.
Okay, so that's great. I think that's everything then. And I'll send those instructions. So to wrap it up, we have, what's it start with? Okay. Millie is on 37 to 39.
Mhm.
Anthony is 40 to 42. Amy's 43 to 45. Bill is 46 to 48. And Carrie is 49 and 50. And that should be a wrap.
Easy peasy, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
We're always
Uh,
last too. It's so late.
I know. The other, let's see, also on the agenda, we don't have any A&Rs, lot releases or bonds. One thing that's not in the agenda, so I don't know if we can discuss it. If not, I just want to bring it up as something to talk about next time is making sure we use our LPA hours. So we have a whole bunch to use and I just don't know how we want to allocate them. So maybe that's something next time we can talk about how to allocate them. Unless Laura, you have any ideas? I don't know if we can discuss without being on the agenda, but.
Well, just something that like I feel like I can do it on my own. However, if we have LPA hours to burn, subdivision regs desperately need to be updated. They haven't been updated in 20 years and they are very much behind the times. So that's something that possibly they could help us out with.
Okay, so I think we have like 24 hours. So we have the maximum that we could possibly get and they expire at some point. I think we have to stake our claim by June. So we don't have to solve it tonight, but if everyone thinks about what any needs we have for those hours, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
open to the subdivision bylaws. I'm not against that. It doesn't matter to me. Nothing comes to mind necessarily.
I was thinking maybe the facade thing for master plan too, but I don't know when you use them by. I know we have till June, but then is that when you have to allocate when they're going to be spent, or do they actually have to be used by June? I think June was the date.
All right, well, we can double check.
Yeah.
I don't think I need their help with the sign and facade. So
Okay.
I can just put that together. That's not a heavy lift for me. So the heavier lift is definitely the subdivision regs.
I was also thinking maybe something like if there has to be a public community meeting about White Cliffs, say there needs to be some sort of public meeting before the selectmen vote to see what people are thinking about Metro West. I don't know, just something else, but I guess we could talk about it next time.
Okay. All right, so be thinking about that. I'll double check the, I think I have an outline of when it expires and when we have to use it by. And I know Julianne sent us a note. Okay. Anything else? So we have master plan implementation committee meeting on May 1st. Any subcommittee updates?
I can give you a little update. We have scheduled the date of the community meeting number 2 for the downtown revitalization project. That is scheduled for May 11th at 6:30 p.m. It's going to be in the large conference room at the public library. So hoping to get as much of a turnout for that event as we have had for the first event. And at that event, we're going to be talking about the 4 redevelopment scenarios. So should be a very interesting meeting.
Nice. Okay, and then our next planning board meetings, we have the 18th and May 2nd. Anything coming up on the 2nd, or is that?
Don't have anything as of yet. So there are a couple of projects that are kind of just haven't been filed yet. I don't think at this point that they would meet the advertising deadline if they were filed at this point for the first meeting in May. But they're hanging out there. So I expect them to be filed in time for either the second meeting in May or June.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay,
we'll get them the meeting off after town meeting,
wonderful.
unless some of the others are continued.
And then the next ZBA meeting on the 23rd, anything exciting for that one?
ZBA meeting, we do anticipate having a filing. It's going to be a filing of a multifamily project in the downtown business district that design review has already looked at. So that's at 78 West Main Street. So I anticipate they will go forward at the ZBA meeting the end of May. I haven't filed yet.
All right. Well, with that, unless there is any other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I'm gonna take Millie's motion, Amy's second. All in favor, Amy,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Millie,
Aye.
and carries an aye. That's a wrap. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
That was
Thanks.
rushing.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, good night.